Good morning, everyone. My name is Mighty Stream, and I'm going to do your May the 12th spiritual principle day in a meditation. If you need to reach me, feel free to do so at recoveryofhope21@gmail.com. All right. The title of this meditation is Surrender to What? Surrender is what happens after we've accepted the first step as something that is true for us and have accepted that recovery is the solution. That comes from the NA Step Working Guide. Step 1, surrender. Our first introduction to the steps often stirs up a powerful rebelliousness. All my life, I felt disempowered. Now you're telling me that I'm powerless and that I have to surrender every day? Many of us ask. While NA is truly a program of action, we also strive to understand the ideals, concepts, and spiritual principles that underpin this new way of life. Before we got clean, surrender to most of us meant the inconceivable, showing weakness. In many of the neighborhoods we came up in, surrendering would threaten our very survival. For others, the thought of losing or being wrong, and worst of all, admitting it, defied the very core of our being. We'd rather go down fighting than accept defeat, especially if others would know about it. Once we better understand the first step in the concept of surrender, we realize that we've already admitted defeat when we come through the door of an NA meeting. No one gets here by accident, our sponsor says. Okay, we now understand that we've surrendered our grip on denial. We get that our addiction has worn us down, and we are powerless over it. No matter how we fought, we couldn't make using work. And yes, we've even surrendered to the ideal that surrender is a process that we must sustain by working steps, going to the meeting, service, all that. But what am I surrendering to? We ask, thinking we are pretty smart. You're already doing it, our sponsor says. You're surrendering to recovery as the solution. If you want to fight for something, fight for that. Point sponsor. I'm going to take a moment to find where in my life I am still resisting recovery as the solution to my problems. I'm still a fighter, but today my fight is for recovery. Yeah, let's take a moment of silence followed by the reversion of Serenity Prayer. Moment of silence now, please. Thank you. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things that we cannot change, the courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Just for today, please and thank you. It's almost comical. Some of my moment of silences are so quick, they really don't feel like a moment of silence. And then there's some that I do that, like today, all I could think of was, I wonder if I could sleep in 2 seconds. So the moment of silence was a little bit long. I give you that point for you and a point for your sponsor. Yeah. So good morning to you. Good morning to you. This is an interesting meditation. I think on some level, every person in the program should be able to relate to this to some degree. Now, I came from a background that fighting was a given for me. The things that I was fighting for or about or over had more to do with being bullied and trying to stand my ground, dealing with racism in the early 70s and trying to stand my ground and my right for my parents to have a relationship with each other, regardless to the fact that one was white and one was Black. So there was a lot of fighting going on about that. Fighting about looks, my looks compared to the looks of others. I was so tall and slender, long feet. It was so much that was different about myself compared to, my peers. So my looks were a constant issue and a constant always being belittled for say, for instance, I was raised not celebrating. I can't think of any holidays that we celebrated. So there was always this harassing about what did I get for Christmas and why don't I have any new clothes. People were just cruel. Kids can be cruel, right? And yet I was, I excelled educationally speaking. So even that was a target on my back oftentimes. And so this ideal, this concept of always fighting was definitely something that I can relate to here today. And fighting for recovery. This is one of the enigmas about one of the riddles, right? Wonders of this program. Because now we're talking about surrendering, which would indicate that you stop fighting. But we're also talking about what we're fighting for now, right? Surrender to what? Surrender to win. Surrendering to the fact that recovery is the solution to my problems. What do you mean recovery is the solution to my problems? And I can deal with this because I have a young fella in the house that has broken his foot. And we just saw the orthopedic surgeon yesterday. So I can speak to this. If I break my foot and the surgeon, the specialist, tells me this is what we need to do to avoid surgery, it is possible that this particular type of break can heal itself. But you're going to wear this boot for at least a month, and you're not going to be walking around doing anything unless you're just standing doing these 10 exercises we've given you. You have permission to take the boot off if you are just sitting around the house with your foot up, or you're actually doing the exercises we've given you. But other than that, trips to the bathroom, up and down the stairs, all of that is going to be done with this boot. You can ditch the crutches when you feel comfortable walking in the boot, but not before, okay? See you in a month, and let's see if we can avoid surgery. That is the process that has been itemized to me, detailed to me for recovery, right? If I want to strengthen my walk, strengthen my foot, and avoid an invasive type surgery, then I'm going to do the things that are recommended for me to do by the specialist that is an expert in her field of looking at bones. So why would I not want to surrender to the solution that has worked for hundreds of thousands of people for years? Why wouldn't I want to surrender to recovery? I can only think of a few reasons. Maybe I don't think I'm an addict. Maybe I have not reached the bottom. Maybe I think I have a better ideal and I want to try it. Okay, have at it. But a lot of times what happens when a person comes into the meetings and we're talking about surrender to win and we need to surrender and how we honestly surrender or how we had a thorough surrender or how we have an unconditional, we put it in so many different ways that can be confusing. But ultimately what it's meant is, have you accepted the fact that you have a problem that is bigger than you and you need some help, and that this is a solution that has worked for hundreds of thousands of people and can work for you? Can you surrender to win? Can you surrender to recovery as the solution? That's why we can say you're a member when you say you are. You're a member when you say you are. And you're also a member when you tell yourself you're not. Not a member, rather, when you tell yourself you're not. And many people fluctuate in between membership and non-membership through their whole course of being in the program. Yeah, there's many people that no longer identify as being a member. But when life happens, they remember, oh yeah, oh yeah, recovery was the solution then, and I bet you if I apply it, it can be the solution right now. And in their own mind, they become members again. Now, to the people on the outside, we just assume that you are still a member, right? Because that's how we met you. We just assume it. And the most important thing to us is whether or not we consider ourselves still a member. Do we ourselves surrender? Do we ourselves consider recovery as the solution to our problem? Not so much worried about what you're doing, although it may enter our minds. Oh, I haven't seen so-and-so. When the last time you saw so-and-so? You know what? I haven't seen her or her daughter who was in the program in over a decade. Have you seen them? And if we do enough research, we find that they're still in the program. They just moved hundreds of miles away, thousands of miles away, right? So we really try not to judge whether or not other people are members, because that's something totally up to them. But here's the question. Are you going to take the suggestion to find where in your life you might be resisting recovery as a solution to your problems? I am, and I've got a pretty good idea where I want to take my recovery to. I have a pretty good idea just after reading this meditation what I am lacking and why and what I need to do. And I'm going to be working on that in the next week. And I'm hoping that Friday of next week will bring me into a better position about my spiritual wellness. My name is Mighty Stream. I've enjoyed talking to you today. I hope that you will have a beautiful day on purpose. I intend to talk to you soon.